Hey, what's up, guys? I'm back with another video tonight. This one's gonna be kind of similar to one I've already done. If you don't remember, 4 weeks ago, in podcast number 14, I ranked all major NFL quarterbacks and I tiered them. Uh, I went through a breakdown of why I had quarterbacks where, kind of trailed off when I got to lower positions. So, anyways, I had this rank system in time putting this video together. And it's been 4 weeks, and a lot's happened in those 4 weeks. Uh, a lot of revelations have come through the football world. So now I went back to my rankings. I thought, might as well redo the video. All of 6 views, for me is pretty good. So I decided to redo the video. Not redo it, but, reuse the concept. And so here's my new list. Same Word document and everything, just moved a few guys around. The undisputed category didn't change at all. I just left it with two guys, Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. Carson Wentz is certainly knocking on the door. The only reason he's not in that area is because think about it, Cam Newton, who is down here at 20, and Matt Ryan is here at 12. Both won MVPs in the last 2 years, and neither of them performed nearly as well the following year. So even though Carson, this is kind of like a current active, thing, but it also takes into account sometimes the body works throughout their careers a little bit, and then sometimes you can see that. I'm trying not to use that so much, but sometimes it still comes through. And Wentz, I'm just worried. I'm worried about third-year slump, but right now he's playing incredible. I still have him at 3 though, but I don't have him up in that undisputed category just because of a little bit of the benefit of the doubt that I give Brady and Rodgers, and also he's great, Wentz is, but he's not like mystical in a sense like Brady and Rodgers can be. He's not at that point yet. He's still got a lot of developing to do. Obviously, he's only a second-year player. But I have him at 3. And then Breed's 4, Wilson 5. So I think the top 5 stayed the same. Alex Smith jumped up. He was, I believe, at number 8 or 9. He's jumped up due to his interception touchdown ratio. He's only thrown, I think, 4 interceptions this year and over 20 touchdowns. So even though he's looked at as more of a game manager, but he certainly has been performing very well this year. And his stats are showing he's actually, towards the top of the league in most categories. And because of that, he's cracked the top 10 and he's moved up in my list. Watson hasn't moved at all. He's moved. Actually, I think he's moved back one spot because of Smith, his injury. Prescott's at 8. People will argue why Watson's ahead of Prescott. If you checked, Watson has more touchdowns than Dak Prescott, and Watson hasn't played in a couple weeks. So, or more passing touchdowns at least. So, there's something to be said for what Watson was doing, and it certainly shows that he's still, he hasn't moved on his list despite his injury. And I do take into account, the level of talent, their skill. It's not just their statistics on this year. It's my evaluation of their talent in general and where they should belong in the league rankings at this current point in time based on their talent. If they were healthy in this case, you can see that would apply to Deshaun Watson and Andrew Luck, who are obviously injured right now. But I believe they'd both be top 10 quarterbacks if they were healthy. So Prescott, Luck, so these 3 basically have been in the same order. Matthew Stafford is a new member of the top 10. I had Matt Ryan originally in the top 10. And his lackluster play has dropped him out of the top 10, actually back to number 12 at this point. I moved Kirk Cousins to number 11. Stafford's jumped all the way to 10, as I told you. He's playing pretty well, even though his lines aren't really... even though the lines are kind of underperforming this year, especially in a year when, you don't have to deal with Aaron Rodgers, basically. He's still playing well. Not nearly as well as contract should require him to, considering all the money he's making right now. But he's still playing, good enough to be a top 10 quarterback in the league right now. Now with Cousins and Ryan. At 13, there's another quarterback who's kind of having a really lackluster year and not performing nearly as well. Derek Carr is at number 13 right now. Granted, this week he didn't have Amari Cooper or Michael Crabtree. He still played decently, but they kind of barely beat the Giants. But at the same point, just not what I expected from him this year. Unfortunate. It's kind of unfortunate. He's kind of seen as one of the next generational quarterbacks. Hasn't played that way this year. So, right now he's the 13th best quarterback in the league, in my opinion. We'll see if that changes. 14 is Rivers. I originally had him behind Ben Roethlisberger. As you can see, that's changed. I moved him up to number 14 overall because he's been playing really well. And you can see the Chargers actually having a resurgence. They're tied with the Chiefs now, I believe, in record. and they're actually having a chance to make the playoffs this year, which is really good for them. It has to do with Rivers, to be honest. Their defense is playing all right, but it has to do with that offense. It has to do with Rivers. Is like he's their guy. So on offense, they have Melvin Gordon. Yeah, they do. And they have Keenan Allen, but they don't really have that other, no one matches what Phillip Rivers is doing basically on that offense. So I give Rivers a lot of credit. So he's at 14. A few more good weeks, I believe he actually probably move up past Carr and Ryan, probably be around the Kirk Cousins level. Jared Goff moved up to 15. Goff still has some shortcomings as a quarterback, and that's to be expected. He's only a sophomore who had limited time, limited experience his freshman year. But rookie year. But he's playing well. His accuracy still needs improvement. He needs to be able to sense up pressure better than he has, so to be able to avoid sacks or tuck the ball away. There's some times where I believe he should throw the ball away, and instead he tries to make a play. Ends up using time or takes a sack. So, there's little things to improve on, but overall he's trending upwards, so that's pretty good for him and for the Rams. Ben's dropped back to number 16. He's actually performing better now than he was at the time of my first ranking. It's just that I believe other quarterbacks like Rivers and Goff have actually improved their games as well, to the point where they moved up past Ben. Still a top kind of half the league quarterback, and I believe he has plenty of chances to move up this list as well. If Matt Ryan, Derek Carr drop back. 17, Case Keenum. He was a guy who had a way lower on this list, much like Goff, but he's moved up because he's played it phenomenally with the Vikings in Teddy Bridgewater's absence, and he's been doing really well. So much so that Bridgewater hasn't actually seen the field again. So and he's one of the main not the main reason, the defense is the main reason, but he's helped out the Vikings a lot in the way I believe Alex Smith used to hype out the Chiefs, that kind of don't blow the game, but make a few plays here and there kind of situation. 18, Jimmy Garoppolo got his first start today with the 49ers. I believe he's performing. He performed fairly well. Not outstanding, but his form looked a lot like Brady's. Not to say he played like Brady, but his form looked a lot like Brady's. And, he had a pretty good game for his first outing in a long time. His first true starting outing in a long time. I think he has a good future, and I believe he does possess the talents and the abilities to be a long-term starting quarterback in the NFL. 19 and 20 are Jameis. Well, let's just do 19, 20, and 21. I believe we only had top 20 quarterbacks in my first three tiers originally. I've extended it to 21 because I don't really see Andy Dalton as a back-of-the-pack quarterback right now. But these three guys have all been kind of disappointing this year. Obviously, Cam Newton, the former MVP, should not be this low on the list. But he's performing, not terribly, but not terrifically either. His yards per game are, close to 200, not nearly where I expect him to be. Winston's been doing all right, but his team hasn't been winning nearly as much as I expected. I kind of expected a Pro Bowl year from Winston. We did not get that. So he's back here at number 19. Dalton as well. He's actually probably statistically performed better than Newton and Winston both. But still, it's kind of let down what the Bengals have been this year. So, I kind of had to put that on Dalton a little bit. So, it reflects on his number, his rank. He's back here at 21. They were going to back of the pack. If you haven't noticed, Tyrod Taylor was originally in the quality starter category. He's moved back. He also got injured today. The injury is not his fault, but, he just hasn't been playing well necessarily. And that shows in, the Bills, they've been losing. And, his numbers have dropped. He's not been playing his normal self lately. McCown has moved up, certainly, from, I believe I had him in the backup list back here at one point. He's moved up. He's been playing really well for the Jets. Even if they haven't been a winning team, he's been doing pretty good. Bridgewater and Tannehill have basically stayed in the same spot. Manning moved up a little bit, even though he got benched. I still moved him up a little. Brissett has been in the same spot. Bradford and Palmer hasn't moved. I believe that everything pretty much stayed the same, except for I moved Geno Smith up after his performance day with the Giants. Not a good performance, really, but certainly better than what I would expect from most backups. So he's moved up into his back-of-the-pack category and moved out of the backup category. So you go down best backups. We got Mike Lennon for the Bears. He probably should drop, actually, in my opinion. He should probably drop back a lot, considering the guy who's he's backing up is Mitch Trubisky back here at number 43. So that says a lot about Glennon, I guess. So he probably should drop, in my opinion. Actually, let me take care of that right now. Just something I probably should have done. He's not going to drop all the way back, though. I don't think he's as bad as Mitchell Trubisky. He at least throws the ball. I think I'll actually have him... Actually, I'm not going to drop him too much. I'll drop him behind Jay Cutler. So the guys who moved up, Matt Moore moved up a lot. He had some playing time recently, and I've come to realize that I personally think he's one of the best backups in the league. And I value him as a lot as a backup, actually more than I value Jay Cutler as a starter. C.J. Beathard had a couple of really good games before his injury, and then Jimmy Garoppolo taking over. I think he actually shows some promise as a good, not as a starter necessarily for the 49ers, but as a really quality young backup kind of guy. Jay Cutler still back here, still being Jay Cutler. Mike Glennon, Trevor Siemian got benched, came back because of Paxton Lynch's injury, and Brock Osweiler getting benched, and he's just performed terrible today. 3 interceptions today. I was on record saying that he was a starter level of talent, and I believe he'd be a starter. He's certainly not looking that way anymore. Manuel, Fitzpatrick, and a bunch of our guys back here. Trubisky's back here too. He's been lackluster in his ability to throw the ball. Hasn't really made any plays. The only reason the Bears are even in competitions for games is because of their defense and because of Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen occasionally. Back here we got Ryan Mallett, Drew Stanton, Kevin Hogan, a bunch of slew of backups. Tom Savage could probably move up a little bit. He performed fairly well for the Texans today, but he lost their last game last week for them with a game-ending interception. Brett Hundley had a really good week against Pittsburgh last week, came back and had only 81 yards this week, so that's why he hasn't moved up this list, really. Nathan Peterman was originally placed in the unplaced category. He has now been placed after his terrible play in that one game where he threw, I think, 5 interceptions. So he's now at 50. Just ahead of Brock Osweiler, who got benched by the Broncos, and Paxton Lynch, who got injured for the Broncos after not performing great in his one initial start in this whole year. Deshaun Kaiser is still throwing interceptions like crazy. And then you got a few other guys who haven't played at all this year down here. And the unplaced category still has Cordell Jones, who I don't really know what to think about as the Chargers backup, and Patrick Mahomes, who I really haven't seen much of either. So I really don't know where to go with those guys. There is one guy I realized that I did not place who needs to be placed. I just thought of this. Blaine Gabbert for the Cardinals. He's actually been doing fairly well with them. I don't think he's gotten the credit necessarily this year. I know he didn't have a terrific game today against the Rams, but that's kind of to be expected. I mean, this is basically their best quality. But anyways, let's see where I've been trying to think where I should put Gabbert on this list. I think I'm going to put Gabbert ahead of Mike Glennon, but behind Jay Cutler. He's had not a really good run, but he's doing well for what people would have expected from Gabbert. And as far as the backup goes, he's been fairly good at running the offense and getting them, at least yards and touchdowns. He's throwing interceptions, of course, but that's expected of most backups at this point in the league. So I'll have him there at number 37. So that's it, guys. Are there any quarterbacks that you thought I missed or I should have placed higher? Feel free to tell me in the comment section. And that's it for this video.